Hi, this is Hillary Gale from How Expert with a How Expert tip of the day. How Expert publishes quick how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts. Visit howexpert.com to learn more. So, today we're talking about the top 10 tips for American Kenpo. So, I'm Hillary. This is my dad, Steve. He's been doing this for how long?
I started in 1977, but actually really got totally involved by 1984.
So I was what, 3?
Something like that.
Okay.
It's been 36 years or so of straight martial arts.
Okay. Let's talk about the difference between, just general fighting and sport.
Well, number one, martial arts isn't really about fighting. I'm not sure I got that out right. The fighting aspects are such a huge part of what we do, and yet it has so little of what we have to do with. It's kind of funny that way. You learn how, you become very good at it, and then you realize you don't have to, except to test yourself. So when you're testing yourself with your partners on the floor, you're not hurting each other.
Right.
You're working each other to your max, but you're not hurting each other. At least no more than bumps and bruises.
Right. So, we want to highlight a difference, just generally speaking, between what we do on the floor and using it to actually hurt somebody. We actually want those situations to be very few and far between.
If at all. Because really what self-defense is about is avoidance. And, because once you get into a physical confrontation, all bets are off. It's not like the movies where the good guy always goes home with the girl and the music plays. Unfortunately, hospital bills and even worse happen when you step into those situations. So self-defense is a tool, just like anything else. You learn how to do it. You learn to realize that it has strengths and it has weaknesses. But your best self-defense is still avoid that situation if you possibly can.
Well, let's move on.
Okay.
Comes with a change of location. But we're going to talk about kind of lining up your feet for the most success that you can possibly have. So you'll see that we have this beautiful little compass rose clock.
Clock. I'm going to call it a clock.
We're going to call it a clock.
We call it clock training.
So we got 12 o'clock up here, 6 o'clock back here, and then you have to remember we're mirrored, so 9 o'clock here and 3 o'clock here, right?
Right.
Okay. So to line up my feet, what do I do?
Okay. So we always start with what we're going to call a toe-heel stance. So if you're going to be in a ready stance, okay, whatever your ready stance is, a ready stance starts with your front foot at or about the 12 o'clock mark with your toe on that line. Your heel is going to be on the bottom part of the line, or the 6 o'clock line, and again, at or about 45 degrees.
So my feet are parallel.
So your feet are pretty much parallel to start off with, okay? Just want you to find a spot here. And again, they're going to be about shoulder width. Now for her, she's going to need to be a little bit wider because she's taller, okay? But wider forward. There you go, okay? Now you notice here, by putting a slight bend in her knees, there you go, she's able to turn back and forth. And you keep your body hips-wise towards your opponent. Your front hand, your elbow is going to be in. Now, keep in mind, we talk about center lines a lot. And with center lines, if I were in a horse stance, that center line would run right down the middle of my nose. Well, it doesn't change. That's where your center line is going to be. However, if your body is sideways, her nose is here. So now this becomes her center line. You notice that with her arm, it's now in front of it. So it's hard to get through if all she has to do is move a little bit. Here she's looking right over the top of her hand. If it's too low, something comes over the hat and gets her. If it's too high, something comes underneath and gets her. So you got to kind of put that again in that middle ground. For a vertical position like this hand pretty much can be here. It can be, and your body, with a slight bend knee, puts it just about a place where I know I can get there, but all she's got to do is move her hip a little bit, and now this front hand is there to strike. So the idea with a toe-heel stance is to give your body the best line it can start off with. Now how this is going to work, again, you can't be too tall, nor can you be too low.
So that drops us into our next tip, which is to relax and
How to
sink.
relax and sink. Because if your knees are bent, you're in a good stance, and you get hit hard, what happens is you simply rock. Boom, boom. If you're real stiff, what happens is you get shocked. And by being shocked.
And I mean, there's a really clear demonstration of that, right? I
Oh,
mean, if
absolutely.
you just wanna,
Here, if she's in a flexible position, and I just do a little bit of this, she doesn't move much. But if she is stiff, it doesn't take much to kind of shock her. Now, when we're in a fighting stance or a ready stance, if her posture, if her legs are really stiff, this becomes very easy to simply move her. And if my hands were here, I would move her or move her. Whereas if she's relaxed and I go to do this, often she becomes the mover versus the movee. Okay? Circles. I like to talk about, if you looked at this little clock. Now, a clock is, for most of us, the school clock that we watched in school was a big round circle. And that's the kind of picture I have in my head when I put a clock. And that circle is important. If I'm in my circle, this circle around you, and her knees are bent, she can move in this circle and stay balanced, coordinated, and be able to use whatever techniques it is that she is going to use, whether it's in our Kenpo system or whatever martial art. If you get out of your circle, and we're going to turn it sideways for a quick second. If she reaches way out of her circle with that strike to here, it becomes very easy for her to be pulled off balance, adjusted downward, adjusted inward, all kinds of things once you, what we call, either get out of your circle or over your skis. Now, if she were to keep that strike and use her footwork so that she actually strikes here and be gone, it's going to make for a much better situation for her. Okay? Is that if you're going to move from here, you move with your hips, not just your hands. If I move my hand only out of the circle, I'm going to fall over. Okay? But if I simply turn my hip as I'm striking here, I stay with my knees bent and everything stays nice and strong. The first one we teach is the inward block. The inward block starts from wherever your hand is, and I want you to we're going to kind of emphasize chambering today because this is again another hint.
call it putting your tools away.
You learn how to put your tools away, and it becomes very important. Not so much here. This is where it shows when it's pretty, katas and those types of things. But if you don't put your tools away and you're fighting, I'm here, okay, and I fire this thing and I leave it down here, what's going to happen is my face is open. So I need to take that and put my tool back in the box. Put it right back where I started from, okay, wherever it is. So here, I want you to be thinking wherever your hand is, it comes across. Block, and then block. Good. Block. Notice that each time she blocks, the other hand is pulling just as hard as the other hand is coming. So she's pushing, push, push, push.
So one of the things that I learned when I was orange belt, right, is where we do short two.
That's correct.
Right, we bow into the kata, we jump into that horse stance, and I learned inward block, shudo. Inward block, shudo. So that turns into something else later, right?
It actually does, and it depends on who you learned your forms from and where they came from. Because in reality, the technique that this comes from is a hammer fist. So although the block is blocking, it could also be striking. It could also lead forward. I could be here as I strike and circle right through into this shudo. So,
And so, I mean, that takes us into the idea of control, right? So, I mean,
I'm going to say control is probably, the number one control, of course, is your body. You need to be in control of your body at all times.
and that's how I can trust him for me to be able to throw a punch, and when he comes and blocks and strikes and
I'm not
tries
gonna
to knee
hurt.
my face.
One of the biggest things in martial arts in relationship is what we call uki. And uki is your training partner. And you're going to have a lot in the martial arts. As you move up through, good training partners are hard to find. People who are going to help you get better and not just kind of be there as a dummy. We don't want dummies.
So that blends actually two of our tips, right? Control and work well with your partner.
Right, because partners are very, very important. I don't want to hurt my partner, and yet I have to make her work. So she's in a square horse stance, and she's got her hands chambered here. Training you, learning how to do things, you need to let your partner learn how to do the material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus so that my strike is going to end up within an inch or so. I'm focusing on her center line so that when she blocks, boom, good. And the elbow will come just a little bit across, boom, boom, boom. So notice here, she's blocking, using her hips, using the technique, but I'm not hurting her. Now I can go faster. And we also want to remember to block only when a strike is coming. Okay?
Oops.
All right, and those things happen. All right, this is one of those things, and how you learn. So if you're firing, boom, boom. I want to be close enough to be able to hit, but not hit.
The last one is R.A.D.E.
Okay.
So what does R.A.D.E stand for? Because it's kind of a concept that you worked with in your own studio.
Everybody has got a self-defense acronym. Okay, and there's lots of them out there. I like the R.A.D.E acronym. I think some of the police forces use it often, and it's basically an acronym that starts with the letter R, which is to learn how to recognize. So if you can recognize danger, you're much more likely to be able to avoid it. So recognize, avoid.
Now, ladies, this is as simple as when you're walking through a parking lot alone. Make sure recognize means that your face is not in your phone as you're walking in the dark to your car. You need to be up and looking. It means you need to be paying attention. And it means that if you see, someone who kind of gives you the creeps walking towards you, that you maybe walk in a different direction. Maybe if you're in a mall parking lot, you walk yourself back in and you grab a security guard. So you don't have to confront that danger in front of you. You have so many opportunities to move away.
And that's really the key. If you can avoid those situations through life, then hopefully you never have to defend yourself, which is obviously the D in this particular situation. So you recognize, avoid, and then almost next to last here is defend. And I'm going to use this, say defend, because the last letter is also escape. And escape can come before defend, okay, and or after defend. And preferably before, and that's where that avoidance comes in. So you want to get out to whatever your situation is, you want to be able to escape from that situation. But often if we get caught in that defensive situation where there is no other option, then you're going to have to defend yourself. And that means you're going to defend yourself to the level that needs to be. Is an attack, I'm walking down the hallway, and boom, I block her here. At this juncture, got a minute in time, just a brief second, where I can see, were there other people? Does she have friends with her? Am I all alone? If we're in a crowd, all I can do is say, hey, bye. So if we're in a crowd or something, I can just get rid of her and dump her. Okay? Because the better you get at this, the more demonstrably dangerous you become, you understand better that it's fear that makes people do things. And if you can eliminate that fear inside of yourself, it's much easier to say, I know I could,
but I don't have to.
But I don't have to. Exactly. Hey, it's been good talking to you today. Hope you like these tips.
Thanks for your work.
How Expert publishes quick how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts. Visit howexpert.com to learn more.